Chapter 4352. Huan was a little speechless. She was trapped in his arms and couldn't move at all. She couldn't even move a little. After a long time, she finally fell asleep in his arms. Late at night, Chinamo lowered his head and looked at the little thing in his arms. His expression became a little gentle. He reached out and stroked Huan's hair. It felt good and smooth to the touch. She smelled good after the shower. Her little body was nestled in his arms, which made him very satisfied. He lowered his head and kissed her forehead. He didn't care if she could hear him and just said in a hoarse voice, "You're willing to sleep in my arms. Does that mean we've made up?" Of course. Huan couldn't hear him. She just turned around in his arms and changed into a more comfortable position. Her little face happened to be pressed against his chin, which made it convenient for him to kiss her. That night, Chinamo kissed her the whole night, as if he was possessed. In the middle of the night, Huan woke up and found that her mama wasn't there. She started to feel a little scared. Then, she found her mama and mama sleeping together on the sofa. Huan opened her big eyes and looked at them eagerly. After a while, she fell down blissfully. Her little limbs hugged the pillow. The baby felt so happy. No matter how much Chinamo liked Huan, he was still pissed off by her the next day. He didn't get a morning kiss, but when he woke up in the morning, she wasn't in his arms, and Huan wasn't there either. He immediately sat up and heard Huan's happy voice coming from downstairs. He knew in his heart that they were still there. He breathed a sigh of relief and grabbed his watch to look at it. It was almost 10 in the morning. Chinamo immediately got up and put on his clothes. He abandoned the jacket he wore last night and went downstairs. Huan and Huan were having breakfast. There was no housekeeper here, so Huan made it. Chinamo just went over to take a look and said with disdain, "Is this all you're eating?" When Huan saw her father coming down, she happily kissed him and said carefully, "The baby likes the food mommy makes." Chinamo glanced at Huan silently and said indifferently, "Huan has learned to lie at such a young age. She's a little liar, just like you." Huan picked up the vegetable salad with her fork and pouted. "What did I lie to you about?" Chinamo had already walked to the kitchen. At that moment, he turned back and said in a low, husky voice, "You said you loved me." Huan rolled her eyes. "I never said that." His gaze deepened, and his voice became a little low. "You said it before, but you forgot." He was always a little disappointed. It was as if he had nowhere to put his feelings for so many years. After last night, he seemed to feel even more empty. Chinamo went to make breakfast, both Chinese and Western. Since Huan was still young, he made breakfast for her that was easy to digest. When Chinamo was cutting the ham, he accidentally cut his hand because he was distracted. He was stunned for a moment. He casually found a napkin and cleaned it up. After all, he was a man and different from women. Chinamo brought the breakfast over. Although Huan said she didn't want it, her body was very honest. After all, no one wanted to eat pig's food. Seeing that Huan was eating happily, Chinamo smiled faintly and gave her Huan's share. Huan was very happy, but she was worried about her mother's pride, so she only dared to take small bites. Looking at the two unscrupulous little things, Chinamo smiled and began to eat. Halfway through, Huan remembered, "Don't you have a meeting?" Chapter 4353. He said that in front of Huan without any scruples. Huan was furious. Chinamo smiled. "Did I say something wrong?" Huan glanced at Huan and said in a low voice, "Just once, okay? You're not satisfied just once?" He chuckled and said in a particularly hoarse voice, "I can do it tonight. I wasn't in a good state last night, and Huan," he paused and said, "It's not convenient for me to do it with Huan." Huan was speechless. "Chinamo, you know that Huan is here. Can you watch your words?" Chinamo looked at Huan. Huan was enjoying her food and looked at her father with her big black and bright eyes. "I don't understand. Is Daddy playing a game with Mommy? The kind where you kiss each other and take off your clothes?" Chinamo looked at Huan. Huan was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She glared at him and said to Huan, "Don't listen to your father. He will lead children astray." Chinamo glanced at her and asked her lazily, "Have you been led astray by me? After all, you've been with me since you were a child." I don't want to talk to you about this. Huan snorted. Chinamo finished his breakfast and wiped his lips. I'm going to the company. His movement made Huan see the wound on his hand, and she stared at it blankly. Chinamo also noticed her gaze and smiled. It's just a small wound. Why? Are you worried? I'm not. Huan looked down and ate the last bit of food. Chinamo sighed in a low voice. You. He went to hug Huan again before driving away. He didn't say whether he would come back or not. Generally speaking, Huan should run away with Huan. After all, they were found by Chinamo. However, she didn't run away. Firstly, it was meaningless. Secondly, Huan was still young, and she really couldn't take good care of her. Although it was embarrassing, it was the truth. This villa was very nice. There were people cleaning it regularly, but there was usually no one to take care of it. Huan took care of Huan by herself. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when she was worrying about lunch and wondering if she should order one, a team of chefs from the hotel suddenly came to the villa with fresh ingredients. The moment they entered the kitchen, they started cooking in full swing. Just like that, watching the 5-star chefs cook a Michelin feast, Huan was so excited that she screamed and clapped her little hands happily. Even Huan was happy. After all, she was happy when Huan was happy. The chefs finished the meal and left. There was a bunch of cute flowers on the table, which matched Huan very well. Huan ate happily. She was full and then went to the children's room to sleep. The children's room here was very dreamy, which made Huan want to stay as a baby. As for Huan, it was a headache to see the cups and plates on the table, but she still forced herself to wash them. After finishing the work, she was tired and sweaty. Then she took a bath and took a nap. When she woke up, she brought Huan out for a walk and bought some groceries. They had their meals outside as well. When she came back with Huan, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Chinamo had already arrived home. Huan pursed her lips and realized that she shouldn't have used the word home. This was her property. He was simply trespassing. When she said that to him, Chinmo's eyes became a little meaningful. He leaned over and whispered, "Trespassing? Does it count as trespassing if I hug you? After all, our divorce is not legal." Chapter 43:54. Huan glared at him. He was so shameless. His words were particularly picturesque. That kind of picture was really painful to the eyes. Huan still glared at him. Huan is still here. He raised his eyebrows. Do you think she can understand such profound words? Well, Huan couldn't do anything about it. She looked at Huan. Huan really couldn't understand it either. She looked at them with her big, cute eyes. Huan felt like a dog in her heart. She reached out and carried the little fellow upstairs to help her wash. There was still a very beautiful big bathtub here. The little fellow looked very happy in it. Huan helped her wash while being a little absent-minded. Later, after coaxing Huan, she went downstairs. She was surprised to see that Chinamo was making dinner. No, it should be a midnight snack. She stopped there and looked at him. It was a candlelight dinner with silver candlesticks and French food. After Chinamo was done, he sat there. He was still wearing formal clothes, but his coat was casually thrown away. He looked up at Huan and said lightly, "Come and have some with us." Huan sat opposite him. She gently held a glass of red wine and gently touched it with her fingers. "Aren't you tired from work? You still made such a sumptuous meal when you came back." Chinamo looked at her quietly and said calmly, "It's because I'm tired that I have to eat well." As he said that, he smiled at her warmly. Huan felt like a dog in her heart. She still touched the glass of red wine and licked her lips. "Chinamo, we are divorced. We have Huan a raise, so the way we get along with each other." Chinamo ate a piece of steak and looked at her quietly. "So what do you think? Don't do it?" Huan didn't say anything. She just stayed silent. After a while, she said, "Don't you think there's something wrong between us? Is there a problem?" He stared at her. "We're divorced, but we don't seem to have a partner. So it's reasonable and the safest way for us to make do." He elegantly wiped his lower lip with a napkin. "I don't want to look outside either. It might be a long time before I get married again." "I think you do too." Huan was infuriated. He was blatantly saying that they were friends on QQ. She glared at him. He smiled. "You can't deny that we're in tune with each other on certain things." Yuan felt insulted. She turned her head and said in a hoarse voice, "You'll have to remarry eventually." Qin Mo's gaze immediately deepened. He stared at her and said hoarsely, "You know again?" Under that kind of gaze, Yuan couldn't speak. She could only look at him quietly. Qin Mo stood up, walked behind her, pressed his hands on her shoulders, and Junyan leaned over. "Do you not like me to remarry?" Up to you." Yuan bit her lip. She wanted to stand up, but she couldn't move at all because he had gently exerted strength on her shoulders and easily restrained her. Yuan's voice trembled. "Let go of me. You said to let me do whatever I want." Qin Mo whispered in her ear, "Then I'll do whatever I want to you." Before Yuan could say anything, he picked her up and walked upstairs. She didn't want to. She pounded his shoulder and said, "Let go of me. Qin Mo, we're divorced." Chapter 43:55. Yuan couldn't refute his words. She couldn't say anything for a long time. After a long time, she said in a low voice, "You know it." She was embarrassed. He wanted her whenever he wanted. When he wanted to care for Ai Jia, he didn't care about his feelings. He had principles, but she had no self-esteem. What did he think about love and marriage? Ai Jia was her bottom line. If he didn't back down, Yuan wouldn't negotiate. When Qin put her on the big bronze bed in the master bedroom and pressed her with both hands, Yuan was really angry. She struggled and said, "Qin, what do you think I am?" "The woman I want." He stared at her eyes. "Don't say you don't want me." He moved quickly and knew her weakness. He subdued her in a few moves. Because Yuan wasn't there, he enjoyed himself a few times. When everything calmed down, it was already 2 o'clock in the night. Qin took a shower and came back from the bathroom. He saw Yuan curled up there. Her small body was covered with a thin quilt, and her little face looked very angry. He smiled, walked over, and kissed her. "Weren't you satisfied just now?" Yuan was so angry that she patted him. "What do you think I am, Qin?" Her reaction was a little fierce. After a pause, he said in a slightly cold voice, "The woman I like, the wife I can remarry." It didn't sound like a proposal. It was more like he was angry. When Yuan was stunned, he had already left for the children's room. She was lying alone in the huge master bedroom, and on this huge bed, they had just had a good time, but it was very cold. They liked each other, but they couldn't really walk together. She was really afraid that one day, he would suddenly go to Ai Jia and let Ai Jia put her head on his shoulder again. Yuan knew herself well. She was a very possessive person, so she couldn't stand it. She was half asleep and half awake. After some time, Qin came back and lay down beside her. She could feel him caressing her face. Yuan closed her eyes slightly and said in a hoarse voice, "Qin, you know me. I've always been domineering since I was young. If I can't have everything, I'd rather not have it. Don't force me." Qin Mo's body tensed up. After a long time, he said in a low and hoarse voice, "I won't force you. But you can't do it, can you?" Her face rested on his shoulder as tears slowly fell from the corner of her eyes. This was a rare moment where she was so vulnerable in front of him. Qin Mo's heart softened. He leaned over and kissed her cheek. "Yuan, don't cry." She couldn't help but cry. She said she wanted to completely separate from him. She said she wanted Yuan. She said she didn't want to see him again because he was too hateful. Qin listened to her cry and watched her cry. He felt an indescribable pain in his heart. Finally, he said in a hoarse voice, "I won't see her again. Yuan, trust me this time." Yuan shook her head. "No, I don't want you anymore." He would make her feel that she was a naughty child who was acting shamelessly in order to get her favorite candy. And she was indeed acting shamelessly, because she loved him, but she didn't dare to admit it to herself. Qin felt a little funny when he saw her like this. At this time, Yuan was just like when she was a child. She obviously wanted it, but she was very stubborn. She had always been like this, and she still was now. As for him, he was extremely fond of it. Qin coaxed her. She kept crying. In the end, he had no choice but to kiss her. He kissed her gently. "Okay, I've kissed you. Don't cry, okay?" Chapter 43:56. I'm yours from now on. I won't run away anymore. I won't see other women. I'll only hug you, okay? As he spoke, he kissed her little face passionately. But in his heart, he was thinking about how she would look in an evening gown. He wanted to do something, but he was worried about her feelings, so he endured it. He hugged her and said a lot, but he didn't know if she listened. He only felt that time passed very quickly, as if it was dawn the moment he closed his eyes. It was dawn. He opened his eyes and found that Juan was already awake. Chinamo whispered, "Have you thought about what I said last night?" Juan stared at him for a while, and after a long time, she slowly sat up. She pursed her lips, and her voice was a little hoarse. "I haven't thought about it yet. Chinamo, don't force me." The corners of Chinmo's mouth twitched slightly, and he said bitterly, "When did I force you?" Of course, if he had forced her, she wouldn't have been able to run around today, and he wouldn't have had to chase her everywhere. Juan looked at him and smiled faintly. "Aren't you going to the company? I'll take care of you, Juan. 1 or 2 days is fine, but what about in the future?" He stared into her eyes. "You have to shoot films, and you have to go out to work. Don't tell me you'll give up work for Juan." "I can," Juan said softly. Juan said softly, "Chinamo, you might not understand, but I'm telling you right now, I'm willing to do anything for Juan." If that was the case, it was really out of his expectations. Chinamo looked at her quietly, and after a long time, he said self-deprecatingly, "But it sounds like it's harder for me to be with you. After all, you're ready to take care of Juan alone." Juan wanted to say something, but her lips moved, and she didn't say a word. If she said it, they were going to fight. In the end, Chinamo went downstairs first, buttoning his shirt as he took a call from Secretary He. There was something urgent in the company, and he had to deal with it immediately. He took off his tie and went upstairs again. He leaned against the door of the master bedroom. It might be a busy day. Someone will come to cook. Juan lay on the bed and said gloomily, "Don't let the chef come here anymore. I'm tired of it." "Do you find it annoying after a few times?" Chinamo chuckled, walked over and bent down. "Why don't I think so?" Juan blushed and bit her lip. "Chinamo, don't go too far." He nodded. "Yes, I think so too." After saying that, he kissed her. "I'll ask the Annie to come over and cook for you. It's fine if you skip a meal. Don't forget how old Juan is. She's been living and eating outdoors with you, and you still have the cheek to say that you want to take care of her? What kind of little mother doesn't even know how to cook?" Juan said angrily, "When did I let her sleep in the open? This is a big villa, okay?" Chinamo bit her cheek. "You're lying." Juan couldn't be bothered with him and covered her head with the quilt. Chinamo stared at her and suddenly dragged her out of the quilt. He used a tie in his hand to tie her up tightly. During the process, Juan was about to go crazy. She glared at him. "Chinamo, you bastard. If you say it again, I'll be even more of a bastard." He smiled. "I'll untie you when Juan wakes up." Juan was speechless. "She'll sleep until 9 o'clock. What if I want to go to the bathroom?" President Chin smiled. "Then bear with it." After saying that, he looked like he was about to leave. Juan shouted angrily, "Chinamo, you bastard, let go of me." Chapter 43:57. Chinamo had already walked to the door. He straightened his sleeves calmly before turning around and saying in a hoarse voice, "Actually, you could have begged me." Juan scolded him. She scolded him harshly, and it was her most vicious word. He wasn't angry and merely listened. "Seems like you're not in a hurry. Just bear with it then." How could Juan bear it? She wanted to go to the washroom right now. She watched as he turned around, as though he was really going to leave. She said hurriedly, I'll beg. Chinmo's fingers gripped the doorknob. His voice was especially hoarse. Juan, do you know what I want you to beg for?" She didn't say anything. He turned around and looked at her quietly. "Beg me to be with you." Juan glared at him for a while before collapsing. "I think I won't beg." Seeing her like that, he actually made up his mind and left. Juan was indescribably angry. But no matter how angry she was, he really ran away. In the end, Juan woke up at around 9 o'clock. Juan was in a good mood. Before noon, Annie Lan came over to make lunch for them. The familiar smell had Juan and Juan so touched that they were about to cry. Annie Lan had watched Juan grow up, let alone Juan. Thus, She casually mentioned what happened at the banquet that night. She mentioned how Qin Mo had abandoned so many ladies from prestigious families and that he only had Yihuan in his heart. Of course, Yihuan wouldn't take this seriously. If she did, she would lose. During the years when she and Qin Mo were at loggerheads, it wasn't that he didn't have women before. He didn't avoid them either. Perhaps he did it for her to see. She ignored him and continued to be abroad. Later on, he probably felt bored and quiet again. Regarding this dark history, it wasn't that Yihuan didn't care about it. She just couldn't bring herself to do it. Actually, her mother was right. In a relationship between a man and a woman, the woman was usually the weaker one. No matter how successful her career was, she was still a woman. Qin Mo could mess around outside when he was angry, but she couldn't. She didn't know if he would be the same when he was angry. Yihuan thought that perhaps it was because she had been disappointed countless times, so she didn't dare to believe it anymore. An AI Jia had made her disgraced. She had already planned to give up her profession, and last night, he asked her if she loved him. If this did not count, Yihuan did not know what counted. She was not a person who liked to talk about love. If he didn't understand, she wouldn't explain. Seeing that Yihuan didn't say anything, Auntie Lan knew that the knot in their hearts hadn't been untied. She didn't say anything and just continued to take care of them quietly. After dinner, Yihuan and Yihuan sat together to watch TV. As they watched, they switched to the entertainment channel. The theme of this episode was actually the column Don't Tell Him, and the invited guests were Rong Yu, AI Meng Meng, and a famous male actor. Yihuan was in the industry, so she immediately understood that AI Meng Meng had been chosen as the female lead. She was stunned for a moment, then immediately wondered if it was because of Rong Yu. However, she knew Qin Mo wasn't someone who would be influenced by others. If Rong Yu wanted to use him, he would have to go through him. He had chosen AI Meng Meng. At this moment, AI Meng Meng's graceful pose of raising her hand to play with her hair was frozen on the screen. Moreover, the expensive watch on her wrist was quite eye-catching. The host was originally asking professional questions, but at this moment, he went off topic. He asked with great interest, "Miss AI, the watch on your wrist is worth at least $1 million. Did screenwriter Rong get it to you?" Chapter 4358. Yihuan's gaze suddenly froze. She remembered that she had seen this watch before. She did not accept it when Qin Mo gave it to her. The watch on AI Meng Meng's hand was exactly the same as the one she had seen before. Just as she was lost in her thoughts, AI Meng Meng flipped her hair and said, "This is a gift from an important person to me, to reward me for a better job." Regardless of whether it was a gift from Qin Mo, Yihuan was disgusted. She had said that she was with Rong Yu, but now she was showing off in front of Rong Yu. It was not nice. Yihuan was worried about Rong Yu. Rong Yu was a scriptwriter and had no idea about the chaos in the entertainment industry. Not to mention, AI Meng Meng was a third-rate celebrity who would do anything just to get ahead. There were so many celebrities like her around. It was a pity for Rong Yu. In Yihuan's heart, she always hoped that Rong Yu could find a good woman to spend the rest of his life with. However, this was Rong Yu's private matter, and she would not ask too much about it. What she cared about now was whether the watch was a gift from Qin Mo. Just as Yihuan was in a dilemma, AI Meng Meng's eyes flashed coldly in the live broadcast room. Of course, she knew that the watch on her wrist was trending on Weibo. After all, a watch with millions of views and ambiguous answers would arouse a lot of interest. She was in the entertainment industry and knew how the reporters and the onlookers were. The more she tried to explain, the more people would think that the watch was a gift from Qin Mo. It was not a gift, but a gift from her. At some point, when he offered to reward her, she sat in his car and asked for the watch. At that time, there seemed to be a flash of surprise in CEO Qin's eyes. Then, he took the box and opened it. After thinking for a moment, he tossed it to her. It was not a gift, but an abandonment. She thought that he must have been unhappy, not because of her, but because of the person he wanted to give it to. If she guessed correctly, it was Yihuan. But now, as long as it was trending, Yihuan would definitely see it. AI Meng Meng's eyes flashed with a sneer. Rong Yu? Rong Yu was just a stepping stone. Nothing happened that night. All she did was smear some blood on the bed sheets, and that fool believed her. Of course, Ronyu was talented and had a bright future. But compared to the temptation, she felt that Ronyu wasn't her best choice. She wanted to climb up the tree that was Chin Mo. As long as there was precious blood flowing in her body, she would always be able to rise to the top. One day, she would stand at the peak of the entertainment industry. Didn't He Huan look down on her? She wanted to show He Huan that she, who had been criticized and despised by her for having no acting skills and could only be the second or third female lead, could also be the female lead. As long as this kind of blood flowed in her body, Chin Mo would support her. AI Ming Ming smiled gently. This blood was really good. He Huan had been abroad for so many years, and she had never fulfilled her duties as a mother. She had no idea how lonely President Qin was. No matter how much love he had, it would wear away. However, she really didn't expect that AI Jia would not be able to win over Qin Mo. AI Jia was a scheming person, but he pretended to be pitiful and sick, and he still couldn't win over him. It was really a pity that He Huan sent him abroad. In fact, He Huan would never know her position in Qin Mo's heart. She had everything that other women wanted, but she never cherished it. Qin Mo loved her so much that he wouldn't let her go even if it was a drop of blood. Not only did he not let her go, but he also let her fly so high and so far. They were both human, but how could they be so different? Chapter 43:59. Indeed, just as AI Ming Ming had expected, the watch on her wrist became a trending topic. The focus of the gossip was undoubtedly on which sugar daddy had bought it. After about an hour, information about Qin Mo, the president of King Entertainment, buying the watch was leaked. In an instant, hashtag Qin Mo, hashtag Qin Mo's divorce, hashtag Qin Mo and Rongyu's relationship, and even hashtag Qin Mo's ex-wife were all trending. The most unbelievable thing was that some netizens had a wild imagination, saying that the person Qin Mo liked wasn't He Huan or AI Ming Ming, but Rongyu. Hence, hashtag Qin Mo and Rongyu were directly exposed. They looked similar. One had a strong aura and the other had a gentle aura. When they were in the same frame, they looked especially harmonious. The public relations department of King Entertainment didn't know how to deal with this news. Were they supposed to hold a press conference and announce that their boss didn't like men and was straight? Qin Mo was in an important meeting at the office. Secretary He came over a few times, hesitating. "What's the matter, Secretary He?" Qin Mo finally noticed her expression and asked softly. Secretary He thought for a moment and said softly, "President Qin, you're trending again." Qin Mo looked at her. Secretary He passed the phone to him, and he only took a glance. "What's wrong with this AI Ming Ming?" Secretary He rolled her eyes. President Qin was the one who picked the watch. Even if He Huan didn't want it, he couldn't have given it to another woman. Although it had nothing to do with him, it was better to avoid suspicion. "President Qin, you're going to be single forever." Secretary He thought to herself, that person in President Qin's family has always had a childish temper. He's not easy to talk to. Now that he's got a solid piece of evidence, who knows what he'll do? She sympathized with him, but also felt that he deserved it. Qin Mo put down the phone and instructed, "Just keep it at the top of the trending list. Take everything else down." Secretary He thought to herself, is President Qin trying to sell himself? Has King Entertainment reached this stage? She followed Qin Mo's instructions. Although she knew it was for the sake of the movie, it was still a little too much. After Secretary He left, Qin Mo continued with the meeting. Although it was a trivial matter, he thought He Huan would mind. And he didn't mind making her mind. Qin Mo didn't call He Huan to explain. Anyway, she must be thinking about how to cut off all ties with him. They grew up together, so he was well aware of her temper. After the meeting, he walked to the office and told Secretary He, "Get AI Ming Ming to see me." Secretary He knew that even if AI Ming Ming didn't die, she would lose a layer of skin. This girl was really bold and scheming. She actually wanted to use CEO Qin to stir up a scandal. Was CEO Qin so easily manipulated? What's more, if you heat up the food, the company will freeze it. Whatever you say will be useless. What fans were best at was forgetting. With that in mind, Secretary He contacted AI Ming Ming's manager. Tell AI Meng Meng to go to President Qin's office immediately. Be careful with your eyes. President Qin is very unhappy. Yeah, your artist is too daring. President Qin is married. Divorce? Are you kidding me? Does a C-list artist have the right to interfere with President Qin's divorce? It's enough for you to say this to me. If President Qin hears about it, I won't be able to protect you. She didn't know what the other side said, but secretary, he hung up. She walked to Qin Mo's office. President Qin. Qin Mo was deep in thought. After a while, he looked up. Give me another watch. Huh? Secretary, he didn't understand. Was it for Yuan? Was it an apology or a lie? Qin Mo knew she was thinking too much. He said calmly, get AI Meng Meng to tell the world that she's wearing a high-quality imitation. She wanted to chat with like-minded people about new wife number 1, hubby addicted to pampering. On WeChat, she followed Yudu literature, talk about life, and find a confidant. Chapter 4360. When secretary he heard that, he cursed in his heart. Wasn't President Qin being too casual? This was $1 million watch, yet it was an imitation. The rich were too capricious. After secretary he left, AI Meng Meng came over. She saw that Qin Mo was still as obedient as a cat. Although she had precious blood, others could have it too. She wasn't irreplaceable. She had to make President Qin think that she was obedient, easy to control, and not greedy. AI Meng Meng walked beside Qin Mo, her voice trembling. President Qin, you were looking for me? Qin Mo sat behind the office chair. He didn't say anything, just flipping through the documents. Since he didn't say anything, AI Meng Meng didn't dare to make a sound or sit down. She could only stand there and wait. For a third-rate star like her, although she seemed to be glorious at times, in the face of capital, sometimes she wasn't even a plaything. Especially a man like Qin Mo, who didn't like women in the entertainment industry. She heard that the men in the Qin family liked to raise women from young. The famous Yi Muyun was like that, and so was President Qin. Yi Huan was brought up by him, but that woman didn't appreciate it. As AI Meng Meng thought about it, Qin Mo finally looked up and quietly looked at the girl in front of him. AI Meng Meng had been specially approved by him to enter the company. In fact, her looks and acting skills were really average, but she had a very important specialty that made Qin Mo keep her. She had panda blood. Yi Huan, and Yi Huan too. Especially Yi Huan. She couldn't stop herself from just touching her. It wasn't a big problem, and she would get better when she grew up. However, Yi Huan wasn't by her side, so AI Meng Meng was a moving blood source. AI Meng Meng even had to donate a certain amount of her blood every month and store it in the hospital's blood bank. That watch, firstly, was because he was angry at Yi Huan, and secondly, AI Meng Meng had made a request, so he gave it to her casually like before. However, he seemed to have underestimated her ambition. Her actions were clearly a provocation to Yi Huan. This made Qin Mo unhappy. If Qin Mo was unhappy, AI Meng Meng's days would not be easy. The longer Qin Mo remained silent, the more uneasy AI Meng Meng felt. However, she did not dare to speak. Finally, Qin Mo covered the golden pen in his hand and looked up at the person in front of him. He lowered his voice and said, "Do you know where my bottom line is? Before this, I thought you were very smart, so I would agree to any unreasonable request. However, I didn't expect you to provoke Yi Huan." AI Meng Meng's voice trembled. President Qin, I didn't mean it. I didn't expect the consequences to be like this. I was just a little vain. I definitely didn't mean anything else. Qin Mo looked at her quietly for a while. Suddenly, he took out a document and threw it in front of her. There are dozens of people in B City who have panda blood who can draw for Yi Huan alone. One more won't make a difference, and neither will you. Behave yourself. Also, Secretary, he should have told you what you should do next. AI Meng Meng sniffled. Secretary, he did, but President Qin, if I do this, my career as a star will be over. What will others think of me? Also, the movies I shoot later will affect the box office. Qin Mo was still staring at her, and then he sneered. You're smart. You know how to use this as an excuse. AI Meng Meng looked at him and waited quietly. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about new wife number one, hubby addicted to pampering. WeChat followed, Yuta literature, talking about life, looking for bosom friends. Chapter 4361. Chinemo said slowly, "If I fall out with Yuan because of this, do you think this movie will still exist? I don't care how you hype it up to save your image, but you should know your limits. You can't afford to involve people you shouldn't, or it won't be as simple as disappearing from the industry." After he said that, AI Ming Ming broke out in a cold sweat. Only then did she realize what she had done wrong. Yuan was her bottom line that she cannot cross. She didn't want to give up the glory and wealth she had. She was about to become famous, and she couldn't give up anything. Hence, she lowered her stance and pleaded, "President Qin, I know I was wrong. I will do as you say. I will say it's an imitation, and I can explain it to director He." Chinemo said it wasn't necessary because a person of her status didn't deserve it. AI Ming Ming wanted to cry, but she didn't dare. Only a person like He Huan had the right to cry in front of President Qin. If she cried, she wouldn't even have the right to donate blood. AI Ming Ming ran out. Secretary He saw her at the door and knew it wasn't good. She knew that President Qin wouldn't be nice to her, but she couldn't blame President Qin. Of all people to provoke, he had to provoke He Huan. Secretary He went in. Chinemo was looking at a document. In a calm voice, he said, "Pick 3 out of these dozens of people. Negotiate with them to let them work at King Entertainment. They must have the blood of a young girl." He couldn't tolerate his Yuan being transfused with the blood of a man who had dug his feet out. She didn't want it no matter how healthy she was. Secretary He was speechless at Qin Mo's conditions, but she still tried her best to satisfy her boss's request. But there was one thing she asked carefully, "What about AI Ming Ming?" Qin Mo just glanced at her and said calmly, "Her blood won't be used in the future. There was still 500 liters of blood in the blood bank. It wouldn't be used in the near future, and there would be new blood soon." Secretary He understood Qin Mo's words. AI Ming Ming was finished. Don't Tell Her was probably going to be canceled. President Qin was capricious, but he could afford it. Actually, in recent years, King Entertainment had always been taking the commercial route. Several commercial blockbusters have been selling well, and their stock prices had risen delightfully. Even though Starlight Entertainment had also risen, King Entertainment was still the big brother in the entertainment industry. There was no doubt about that. Secretary He quickly left. Chiemo looked at the closed door and felt a headache coming on. He Huan was still a fool, and that watch was indeed given by him. He placed his hand on his forehead and thought for a while. In the end, he decided not to think about anything else. While he was troubled, AI Ming Ming, who had just left, was even more troubled. She had a feeling that she was done for. Although President Qin did not say that she would be replaced as the female lead, President Qin was undoubtedly very angry. And that name list, just thinking about it, made her hair stand on end. She was too stupid to think that she could surpass Yuan. However, she did not know that when she returned home, there would be even more terrifying things waiting for her. AI Jia was waiting for her. AI Ming Ming looked at the small apartment. AI Jia was sitting on the sofa, and there were 2 huge men standing behind him. She felt a wave of fear. She said in a small voice, "Sister, why are you here?" Yes, AI Jia was her sister. They had the same father and mother, but her sister had been adopted by an American couple when she was young and had been living a luxurious life. She, on the other hand, had grown up in the mud and had no idea what America was like. Chapter 4362. But one day, AI Jia appeared. He bought her a lot of beautiful clothes and asked her if she wanted to go to Bee City. In AI Ming Ming's impression of Bee City, she had only seen it on television. It was so prosperous and beautiful. Of course, AI Ming Ming was willing to go. She went to King Entertainment, and everything was like a dream. Except for the blood, everything was perfect. But later, she realized that it was also perfect. Every time her blood was drawn, she would get a sum of money. Sometimes it was 100,000, and sometimes it was 200,000. At first, She didn't know who it was, but later she found out that it was President Qin's daughter who needed her blood. President Qin was a big shot, and she couldn't see him until she was brought to the hospital in the middle of the night. That was the first time AI Meng Meng saw Qin Mo. He was different from what others said. He was carrying Qin Yihuan, and his expression was gentle and not fierce at all. AI Meng Meng was still in a daze when she was grabbed by the nurse to draw 300 of her blood. That day was actually her period, and she fainted after the blood was drawn. When she woke up, she saw the handsome face that she had only met once. She called him President Qin. Qimo only left a few words. "You've worked hard." He left, and his secretary stayed to take care of her. In the end, he said that President Qin was willing to fulfill one of her wishes. At that time, AI Ming Ming only dared to ask for a small role. She was very satisfied and thought that she would become famous. But she soon realized that it was just a dream. If she didn't have someone to support her in the entertainment industry, she would be drowned out. She couldn't accept it, and so she did many things, including injuring that little girl so that she could give her blood to that little girl. AI Ming Ming snapped out of her memories and bit her lip. "Sister, why are you back? Weren't you in America?" AI Jia slowly got up from the sofa and walked to AI Ming Ming. She leaned in and chuckled. "I wouldn't know what you did if I didn't come back, right, sister?" AI Ming Ming was obviously afraid of her, and she cried out. AI Jia, on the other hand, sneered, "The watch in your hand is not bad." As he spoke, he pinched AI Ming Ming's fair arm and lifted it up to look at it. AI Ming Ming wanted to break free, but AI Jia's strength was shockingly strong. She could only cry out in pain and ask AI Jia to let go. AI Jia's smile became even colder. "My dear sister, are you thinking that I'm so useless that I can't even deal with a man? Are you going to do it yourself?" AI Mengming's face turned pale as she denied, "No, sister, I didn't. I really didn't." Seeing that AI Jia was unmoved, she begged again, "Sister, how could I dare to touch your things? I don't even dare to do it. Can you believe me?" AI Jia's expression was a little strange. She let go of AI Ming Ming, but her gaze did not relax at all. She walked around AI Ming Ming, but AI Ming Ming did not dare to move. AI Jia said, "You don't dare? Why wouldn't you dare? Qin Yihuan's injuries were all accidents?" AI Ming Ming was so scared that her face turned pale. "Sister, I didn't do it. I didn't." However, AI Jia's gaze was extremely sharp. She lowered her voice and choked a little. "I only got a small injury. It's nothing. What else?" AI Jia said coldly, "The female lead of this movie was originally mine. Although I can't act in it, it's in your hands now. Didn't you do anything? Didn't you just say that you wouldn't fight with me for it?" Chapter 4363. AI Ming Ming begged pitifully, "Sis, I know I was wrong. I just wanted to be the female lead this once. The female lead will always be me." AI Jia's eyes flashed fiercely. "You're from the countryside and you want to be the female lead?" AI Ming Ming was stunned and hurt. After a long while, she whispered, "Sis, we have the same parents." As soon as she said that, she was slapped on the face. It was so hard that she almost lost her hearing. AI Jia's expression turned even uglier. She squinted her beautiful eyes and said, "If you say something like that again, I'll break your legs. Do you hear me?" AI Jia hated it when people talked about her background the most, especially when they talked about her younger sister, who knew her very well. She did not help her younger sister to hurt herself. She wanted her to be a spy. How could she have known that her own sister would dig her own corner? How could AI Jia tolerate that? She pulled AI Mingming's hair and messed it up before she felt a little better. "This is how you should be. Remember, everything you have today was given to you by me. You must be obedient." AI Ming Ming had been holding it in. AI Ming Ming had been holding it in. She was also afraid of AI Jia, but she was a human and she had emotions too. When her temper flared up, she retorted, "Am I not obedient enough? Also, everything I have today was exchanged with my blood. Where were you when I fainted after my blood was drawn? You could have given me everything, but you defile me like this. Do you really treat me as your little sister?" AI Ming Ming was speechless. After she said that, AI Jia looked at her expressionlessly for a while before she chuckled softly. You dare to resist? You've grown up and your wings have hardened, haven't you? She laughed coldly. If I hadn't brought you out, you might have given birth to a few children for some dirty man. You don't even have a decent set of clothes. You must have forgotten how you used to look like. Do you want me to remind you who you had sex with before you came? Don't mention it. AI Mingming's voice was filled with fear. That night was her nightmare. AI Jia, on the other hand, was enjoying the look on her face. After a while, she said, Do you know who hired Lu Erju? AI Mingming's eyes were wide open and filled with tears. She looked at the woman she had once treated as her own sister in disbelief. She was so noble and gentle. Everything was fake. I don't believe it. I don't believe you would do this to me. Why? AI Ming seemed to have run out of tears as she asked with all her might. She couldn't stand it. She did not believe that her sister would do this to her. AI Jia chuckled. You're not that valuable after losing your first time. What if you climb in a Qin Mo's bed and you're still a virgin? I have to be prepared, don't I? AI Ming trembled all over. I've never dared to think about President Qin. I just want to have a career. I just want to be a star. You are only fit to be a whore. AI Jia gave him another slap. His voice was cold. You don't deserve anything. You only deserve to be drained of your blood. You're so stupid. You played your cards so badly. I can't even bear with you. AI Ming stared at the woman in front of her and suddenly laughed. She laughed so hard that tears rolled down her cheeks. She said, AI Jia, you have everything. You have so much money and the title of the movie queen. But are you living a comfortable life? Are you happy? I don't think you're happy. You're always thinking about President Qin. You just want him to be your substitute, right? Stop dreaming. You and I are actually the same. Yes, I was born in the mountains. Don't forget that you are too. You're just as cheap as me. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about new wife number 1, hubby addicted to pampering. She followed Yuta Literature on WeChat, talking about life and looking for bosom friends. Chapter 43-64. But as soon as she finished speaking, AI Jia slapped her. This time, AI Mingming's face was slapped to the side. Blood even seeped out from the corner of her mouth. AI Jia reached out and pushed her onto the sofa. She lowered her head and leaned over, saying in a cold voice, You said I'm cheap. Mingming, I'll show you what it means to be cheap. I'll show you what it means to live like a lowly dog. AI Ming looked at the beautiful woman in front of her with fear in her eyes. She used to worship and love this sister. She was the one who brought her everything. She was the one who gave her hope. But now, AI Ming looked at AI Jia. She had a feeling that AI Jia would do something cruel to her. Sure enough, AI Jia straightened his body in front of her and looked at her arrogantly. He reached out and pinched her chin. His voice was very soft. Aren't you the most arrogant one? You think that your blood is great? You think that with blood, you can get everything. AI Ming stared at her. What do you want? I'm your sister. You can't do that to me. Sister? AI Jia sneered. I don't have such a lowly sister. Look at your skin. Look at your rustic aura. How do you look like my sister? AI Mingming's eyes were filled with fear. She moved her body to the side with all her might. But the two strong men in black behind her immediately pressed her shoulders to stop her from moving. AI Ming screamed, What are you doing? AI Jia took out a syringe from her handbag calmly. Her voice was also very calm. I heard that people who take this stuff can't donate blood anymore. So, I'll give you a shot. As for whether or not you'll get addicted, it's up to fate. AI Ming looked at the transparent syringe and the silver needle that was emitting a cold light. She tried her best to move back. She was extremely afraid. She knew what it was, and she could not believe that this woman was actually so heartless. They were blood-related relatives. Sister, I know I was wrong. Can you let me go? AI Ming struggled with all her might. She also moved with all her might. She was extremely afraid that if the needle went in, her life would be over. It didn't matter if she didn't continue to draw blood, but if she was infected, she wouldn't be able to survive in the entertainment industry. The industry was very dark, but the higher-ups and the public had zero tolerance. Her forehead was covered in sweat, and her eyes were filled with tears. She begged AI, Jia, to let her go. However, AI Jia was unmoved. Her face was still as cold as ever, and there was a strange smile on her face, the long needle pierced into her skin. AI Ming Ming struggled with all her might. Her eyes were unfocused, but she could not break free. She could only watch helplessly as she fell into despair. AI Ming Ming didn't know when AI Jia had left, but she vaguely remembered that AI Jia had told her to be obedient. Be obedient? Would she still be disobedient? She was done for. What was the point of being obedient? Were people really different from each other? Why was her heart so cruel? What did she do wrong? Very soon, AI Ming Ming lost consciousness. Later, she didn't know who sent her to the hospital. Then, they found traces of 1D in her blood. Then, they did a deep examination to confirm it. For a moment, AI Ming Ming, a third-rate celebrity, had become an A-list celebrity because of that watch. Now, she had fallen off again. She didn't even have the chance to clarify that the watch was an imitation, because the public was most concerned about her sucking that thing. I want to chat with more like-minded people about new wife number 1. Husband, addicted to pampering. Talking about life, looking for a bosom friend. Chapter 4365. She knew that her exit from the entertainment industry was a definite thing. It was just that she wasn't sure how it would affect the company and the new film. She, on the other hand, had to wait for Qin and Mo to deal with her matter. AI Ming Ming wasn't trying to flatter herself, but she knew that her matter would have a huge impact on King Entertainment. She knew what would happen to her. She had nothing left. Her reputation, her career, her female lead, it was all gone. And all of this was done by AI Jia, her own sister, the person who had once given her dreams. It wasn't Qin Mo that AI Ming Ming waited for in the hospital. It was Secretary He. Secretary He's expression was solemn. AI Ming Ming immediately sat up when she saw him. Her face was as yellow as wax, and her body was weak. Her first words were, "I was forced." Secretary He walked over and sat on the chair beside the bed. He paused for a moment before saying, "I think you're not a foolish person. Your blood, you won't ruin your future." AI Ming Ming didn't have any makeup on. Her skin was yellow, and she was wearing a hospital gown. She looked like someone who had just come out from the mountains. Her eyes widened, and her voice was hoarse. "Secretary He, you have to believe me. I really didn't drink it. I cherish my feathers so much. Why would I do something like that?" Secretary He stared at her for a long time. "Who called you? Can you tell President Qin?" AI Ming Ming's eyes widened even more. She wanted to say it, but she didn't dare to even if she had 10 guts. If she said it out loud, AI Jia would kill her next time. She had to live. She couldn't die. If she wanted to live, she couldn't say anything about that crazy AI Jia. AI Ming Ming shook her head and then lowered her head. "I was tricked during a social event." Secretary He's gaze deepened. He took out a stack of documents and placed it in front of AI Ming Ming. His voice was low. "This is the information President Qin just got. It's about the harm you've done to Yi Huan these few years. You know how important Yi Huan is to President Qin. President Qin doesn't want to see you again. AI Ming Ming, you're on your own now." With that, Secretary He got up to leave. There was nothing more to say. AI Ming Ming looked down at the documents. She knew who had done it, but she couldn't say it. Even though she was in such a sorry state, she still couldn't say it. But she stopped Secretary He. Secretary He turned around. AI Ming Ming pulled off the 4 on her hand. Fresh blood flowed down her wrist. Her precious blood was now worthless. AI Ming Ming's blood flowed down. Secretary He sighed in his heart. Actually, when AI Ming Ming first entered the company, she was pretty and lively. She seemed to like Yi Huan a lot, saying that Yi Huan was very cute and even wanted to hug Yi Huan. Of course, this was not allowed. Later, she changed, but she didn't expect that she would become so crazy. In order to exchange her blood for opportunities and conditions, she hurt Yi Huan again and again. Fortunately, Yi Huan was fine now, otherwise President Qin would chop her into pieces. Secretary, he said in a low voice, on account of the past, President Qin won't sue you or put you in jail. It's just that you can't stay in the company anymore. AI Meng Meng. This is already President Qin's greatest kindness. It's Yuan who said that Miss Meng Meng is really good. He even bought her sweets, coaxed her to sleep, coaxed her not to cry. As secretary spoke, AI Meng Meng couldn't help but cry. I want to chat with more like-minded people about new wife number 1. Husband addicted to pampering. Follow Yuri literature on WeChat, chatting about life and looking for a bosom friend. Chapter 4366. As secretary he spoke, AI Ming Ming couldn't help but cry. She was so bad, hurting Yuan again and again, but Yuan was like a little angel. Secretary, he whispered again. This was Yuan's idea. She said she wouldn't pursue the matter. Yuan? AI Ming Ming was stunned. She doesn't hate me? Secretary, he paused and smiled faintly. I don't think it's hate. Most importantly, you still have to thank Yuan. Children were like angels on earth. They only had gratitude in their hearts. Secretary, he left for real this time. After she left, AI Ming Ming covered her face and cried bitterly. She really hadn't expected this day. In her imagination, the person who would deal with her in the end would be Yuan. But no, the person who hurt her was her own sister, AI Jia. AI Ming Ming squatted at the foot of the bed and cried bitterly. When a nurse came to change her dressing, she was shocked. She pulled her up and placed her on the bed to reconnect the drip. The leader of the morning shift was an old nurse. As she busied herself with her work, she scolded, "It's not a big deal. You'll be fine once you get through it. It's not as bad as this. You can't eat anywhere with your hands. You should at least have some savings." AI Ming Ming widened her eyes and murmured, "I don't dare to think about the future, the reporters outside the hospital, and the public waiting for her to apologize." All of this scared her, but she knew it wasn't as scary as AI Jia. After what happened last night, what was there to be afraid of? AI Ming Ming closed her eyes, her frail body trembling. She had no way out. She didn't want to go back to the ravine. She didn't want to become AI Jia's pawn. If she listened to her again, she would be too stupid. She knew AI Jia wanted her to hate Yuan and Qin and Mo, but AI Jia was the one who brought this to her. AI Ming Ming was vain and a little scheming, but she still had a little humanity. She curled up in the hospital alone for a few days. During this time, King Entertainment sent people to guard the hospital. She knew deep down that they were waiting for her to apologize and explain herself. But these few days of peace were enough for her. She was very grateful. She was grateful to the Qin family for not sending her to prison. She was especially grateful to that child. On the day AI Ming Ming was discharged from the hospital, she went through a special passageway. Her personal assistant came to pick her up. She did not say anything and just sent her home. AI Ming Ming sat in the car and said softly, "I want to stay in a hotel." To her, that apartment was a nightmare. She never wanted to go back, but she had to take her luggage. In the end, her assistant went back with her to pack up. There weren't many things, mainly clothes. After tidying up, AI Ming Ming said in a low voice, "This is the apartment the company rented for me. Also, thank you, Sister Xiao Hong, for taking care of me during this period of time. Thank you." She used to be a little arrogant, always thinking that she had a different kind of blood in her, that she was something great and looked down on others. But now she knew that when it was necessary, she had nothing. Little Red's expression softened. She hesitated for a moment before patting her on the shoulder. "If you need it, I can introduce you to a job, but it won't be very glamorous. The salary is just a few thousand yuan. If you need it, call me. But you can't touch that thing anymore." There were tears in AI Meng Meng's eyes. "I didn't do it willingly." Chapter 4367. I believe you. Sister Xiaohong sighed. "Of course you wouldn't touch it since you love beauty so much. But sometimes this circle was just so dark. Little girl, you must have offended someone." Sister Xiaohong didn't say much, nor did she ask any more questions. She helped her settle down in the hotel as a token of her appreciation and left. AI Ming Ming sat alone in the hotel room for a while before picking up her phone to call Chinamo. In a choked voice, she said that she wanted to hold a press conference. Chinamo was very cold and said he would leave it to Secretary He. He didn't say anything else. After AI Ming Ming put down the phone, she burst into tears again. She knew she had brought this on herself, but she also vaguely knew that AI Zhao wouldn't let her get better. Because in AI Jia's eyes, she had lowly blood flowing in her. She didn't deserve to be famous, didn't deserve to live a superior life. How ironic. She was her own sister. On the day of AI Ming Ming's press conference, she really enjoyed the treatment of an A-list celebrity. All the media gathered together, waiting for the photos and the latest press release. Qin Mo himself was traffic, and traffic was the way of the king. AI Ming Ming was dressed in a white shirt and black dress. Her face was plain and clean. She went on stage with the help of King Entertainment's staff. She didn't read from a script. Her gaze was pale, and she looked at the audience with some reluctance. This might be her last time standing in front of people. Although it wasn't glorious, she still felt nostalgic. She had wanted to be a celebrity since she was young. She held the microphone with one hand and said in a hoarse voice, "Today, there are two things I want to clarify. First, the watch I mentioned before was actually a counterfeit. There's no big shot behind it. If there is, it is the company that has always supported me." As she spoke, she bowed. After straightening up, she calmed herself down and continued. "The other thing is that I was rushed to the hospital this time. I promised to the public that I'm not a gentleman, but this kind of bad behavior is a disgrace, so I've decided to leave the entertainment industry forever. I'm sorry to the public and to all my fans who like me. I let you down, so I'm sorry again." As she said that, her eyes were filled with tears. Her eyes and nose were red. At this time, a reporter had already asked a tricky question. "Miss AI, is this your best performance in your career? Do you want to be forgiven for showing weakness?" AI Ming Ming was dazed for a moment before she snapped out of it and retorted, "No, I'm leaving the industry forever. I will be responsible to society and the public and will not enter the entertainment industry again." In the end, she said a few words, but the reporters didn't know what to write. They didn't think she was that bad after all. Another side, it's a pity for such a good seedling. If she had chosen the artistic route from the start, she wouldn't have been nominated for an international award. Qin Mo held a glass of red wine in his hand. "Did you find out who gave her the injection?" Secretary, he shook his head. "I didn't find anything." The other party was very careful. AI Ming Ming also refused to say anything. "I think she probably offended someone in the industry. Otherwise, how could she be so ruthless?" Qin Mo lowered his eyes. "Let her be." Those words meant that the matter was over. Qin Mo didn't expect that Yihuan's kindness and cuteness had saved AI Ming Ming and Yihuan herself. Chapter 4368. After Secretary He left, Qin Mo held the glass in his hand and swirled it gently. After a long time, he drank the wine in his glass and dialed Yihuan's number. Her phone was still turned off. He smiled bitterly. This time, she was really angry, but he felt wronged. She was the one who didn't want it. He gave it away, and she was unhappy. Didn't she say it was an imitation now? He lied to himself, but women still needed to be coaxed. Qin Mo put down his glass and walked out. Before he left, he bumped into someone he shouldn't have bumped into. AI Jia. AI Jia walked out of the guest room and looked at Qin Mo. Long time no see. Qin Mo looked at her quietly and said calmly, "Why are you here?" "I heard something happened to King Entertainment, so I came to see if there's anything I can help with." AI Jia smiled. Qin Mo's lips curled up. "You're quite well informed, but there's nothing to help with." "All right, let Secretary He entertain you." As he said that, he called for Secretary He. Secretary He came over and looked at the two of them. It was a little difficult. Actually, she knew that AI Jia was a difficult person to deal with. If a normal woman knew that she had caused discord in the other party's family, she would definitely avoid it. But this one, not only did she not avoid it, she even came over. AI Jia was obviously unhappy. She was here to talk about the movie. AI Ming Ming couldn't act, but she could. She wanted to say it, but Secretary He said shrewdly, "Miss AI, our President Qin has something to do. Why don't you come over to my place for some tea and snacks? Chin Mo, is there only a secretary's hospitality left between us? Aigia's voice was also moving. Secretary, he exclaimed in her heart that it was good acting. But she was more inclined to AI Muming's lesbian acting skills. Not bad. She was sincere. Even though she had done bad things, she looked more natural now. Chinamo was obviously impatient. He frowned. Aigia, I told you. Aigia's voice had a touch of desolation. Are you going to ignore me like he did? Chinamo looked at Secretary He. Get the company's doctor to give Miss AI a shot of Valium. Secretary, he immediately went to make the call. Aigia's expression was a little angry. Chin Mo, Chin Lu died for you. Yes. Chin Mo's voice was heavy and pained. But he is my family, and the ones who hurt the most are my parents, not you or me. Aigia, don't use the land of Chin incident to kidnap anyone. He was tired of it too. Aigia smiled strangely. She took a step back and said, Chin Lu, you will regret this. After saying that, she quickly left. And Chin Mo noticed that she called Chin Lu's name, not him. Chin Mo stood there for a while. Secretary, he came over and watched Aigia leave. She stuck out her tongue and said, he left. Chin Mo's gaze was deep. In the future, tell the security guards not to let anyone in. Secretary, he thought to himself, did they have a complete falling out? But it was good. It was better to stay away from such a woman with bad intentions and princess syndrome. Chin Mo went downstairs and got into the car. To the villa. He hadn't seen Yi Huan for a few days. This girl sealed the door and didn't let Annie Lon open it for him. She was really stubborn, but it seemed like he could still tolerate it. Also, this could be considered jealousy, right? Chapter 43-69. The car arrived at the villa and stopped at the entrance. The driver opened the door for Chin Mo. President Chin, you can't get in. Chin Mo held his coat in his hand and looked at the villa for a while before saying to the driver, go back first. I'll call you when I need the car. The driver was quite enthusiastic today. President Chin, are you going to climb the wall? Can you do it? Do you want me to give you a hand? Chin Mo. He glared at the driver, and the driver immediately got into the car. He didn't dare to look at President Chin climbing the wall. Chin Mo glared at him fiercely again before walking to the security room. This young security guard was also Yi Huan's man. If he said that he wouldn't open the door, then he wouldn't open the door. He even said that it wouldn't have anything to do with him if he bumped into him. Chin Mo's voice was indifferent. Turn off the current. The security guard was in a difficult position. Chin Mo repeated himself, and he could only do as he was told. Chin Mo walked to the wall and picked a place to climb over. When he landed in the courtyard, he heard a sharp intake of breath. Looking over, he saw that it was Yi Huan. Little Chin Yi Huan was digging with a small bucket and a small shovel. He was about to dig his father's grave. Her little mouth was slightly open, and she looked very cute. Chin Mo patted the soil on his body and coughed. Where's Mommy? Mommy is taking a nap. Grandma Lon is cooking. Mommy will wake up when the food is ready. The baby thinks that Mommy must have smelled the food. Grandma Lan's food smells so good. The corner of Chin Mo's mouth twitched. He carried Yi Huan to the kitchen and handed her to Annie Lon. Wash the little one. I'm going to check on Yi Huan. Annie Lon smiled when she saw him. She looked over and asked, did you climb over the wall? Chin Mo's gaze was a little strange. Yi Huan smiled and said, Daddy fell from the sky. Chin Mo pinched her little face. You're so naughty. You learned it from your mother. When he was about to leave, Yi Huan hugged his leg. Daddy only likes Mommy, not Baby. Annie Lon smiled. Why don't you give her a hug? She missed you a lot, too. Chin Mo's face was a little hot. This kind of emotion would only appear in front of an elder. He coaxed Yi Huan, and little Yi Huan actually felt embarrassed. She twisted her little body and wanted to play by herself. Chin Mo smiled and let go of her. He watched as the little fellow ran off to dig the soil with a small bucket and a small shovel. Chin Mo shook his head and said to Annie Lon, Yi Huan spoils her too much. She doesn't even go to school anymore. Annie Lon swiftly processed the ingredients and smiled. Aren't you indulging Yi Huan as well? Chin Mo smiled and didn't say anything. I'll go up and see Yi Huan. Annie Lon deliberately teased him. Go ahead. I know you don't have a daughter in your heart. You only have a wife. China Mo went over and hugged her. The old woman kissed her face. Annie Lon, too. Annie Lon said, Little guy, don't use your honey trap on me. It won't work. China Mo walked out with a smile and slowly went upstairs. In the master bedroom on the second floor, the hostess was sleeping soundly. She slept soundly on her side, which made people want to catch her and beat her up. Chin Mo quietly watched her for a while. He walked over to the bed and sat down. He reached out and pinched her face. Yi-Huan thought it was Yi-Huan, so she buried her face in the pillow. Yi-Huan, stop it. Let mommy sleep a little longer. All you do is eat and sleep. What a pig. Chin Mo directly put his hand through her hair, held her head, and kissed her. Chapter 4370. Yi-Huan had finally woken up. When she opened her eyes, she saw Chin Mo's handsome face. His strength was on her lips. He was kissing her. Yi-Huan's eyes widened. She just stared at him, as if she had forgotten to react. But after a while, she completely woke up. She put her hands on his shoulders and wanted to push him away. However, Chin Mo hugged her tightly at the same time, and it became a deep kiss. Yi-Huan grunted and passively accepted it. She was pressed under the blanket. After the kiss, he was busy with other things. Yi-Huan looked up with difficulty and said in a hoarse voice, Chin Mo, what is this? He kissed other places and said in a hoarse voice, You haven't seen me for a few days. You heartless little thing, don't you miss me? Yi-Huan's eyes were wet. She knew what he wanted to do. She bit her lips and said no. Chin Mo propped himself up and kissed her fiercely. Then Yi-Huan screamed, Still don't want it? His voice was deep and husky. It sounded very sexual. Yi-Huan glared at him and whimpered. She struggled with all her might, but her wrist was still held by him. Her eyes were filled with tears. She glared at him, unwilling to give in or beg. Chin Mo chuckled and leaned over to kiss her lips. You don't mean what you say. He was very happy, but considering that Annie Lan's lunch was almost ready, he didn't dare to indulge too much. In the end, he kissed her. I'll go down first. You can go down after tidying up. As he said that, he pulled up his clothes. Yi-Huan was speechless. She glared at him. Chin Mo smiled again. I'm going down. Hurry up, or Annie Lan will be suspicious. He raised his hand to look at his watch. It's been less than 20 minutes. She probably won't think too much about it. As soon as he said that, Yi-Huan threw a pillow at him. It hit him right in the face. Chin Mo caught it expressionlessly. You have to change your habit of throwing things at people. As he said that, he smiled and walked out. Yi-Huan sat up and scratched his head. Chin Mo, did you come back just to do this? Aren't you going to explain? He turned around and smiled charmingly. I thought you didn't need to explain. Besides, based on my many years of experience, we both enjoyed ourselves just now. Yi-Huan, don't say that you didn't want to. Your body doesn't show that. Yi-Huan threw something at him again. He was a big jerk. Chin Mo went downstairs. He wanted to explain, but not now. When he went downstairs, Annie Lan smiled when she saw him. You must be tired. Have some fruit to fill your stomach. Chin Mo's face was slightly hot. Aunt Lan. Annie Lan smiled knowingly. How can a young couple not be greedy? As she said that, she wiped her hands and prepared to call Yi-Huan back for dinner. However, when she was outside, she called out to Chin Mo, Hurry, there's a girl outside. She even brought something for Yi-Huan. Chin Mo went out immediately and saw Yi-Huan standing in front of the black door. Outside the door was none other than AI Ming Ming. She had changed into casual clothes and was holding a cute rabbit in her hand. It was probably for Yi-Huan. When she saw Chin Mo, AI Ming Ming shrunk and lowered her eyes. I just wanted to come over to thank her. Chin Mo hugged Yi-Huan and handed her over to Annie Lan. He reached out and took the rabbit. I'll keep it for her. AI Ming Ming's eyes were watery. President Chin, I'm really sorry. I want to chat with more like-minded people about new wife number 1. Husband, addicted to pampering. Talking about life and looking for confidence. Chapter 4371. You don't need to apologize. I hope my forgiveness can help you turn over a new leaf. Chinamo said calmly. I also believe that you came to thank Ihuan, so I'll accept it for her. As for the future, don't come looking for her. AI Mingming nodded. Yes, I won't disturb you in the future. Although she really wanted to hug Ihuan and apologize personally. When AI Mingming left, her gaze fell on Ihuan, who was behind Chinamo. She was such a cute little girl. She had always wanted to use Ihuan to achieve her own goals. She was wrong, very wrong. If she could make it up to her, she was willing to give everything she had to make it up to her. AI Mingming looked at Ihuan, and Ihuan looked back at her. Suddenly, Ihuan struggled out of Annie Lan's arms and picked up the bunny from her father's hands. She walked to AI Mingming and smiled. Ihuan had recently lost her teeth. When she smiled, she looked even cuter and less adorable. She hugged the bunny and said softly, I know you. You're the big sister who drew my blood. Dad said your name is Mingming. AI Mingming bit her lip, not knowing what to say. Ihuan suddenly walked to the side and pressed a black button. Then, the black carved door slowly opened. Ihuan ran over and hugged AI Mingming. While AI Mingming was stunned, she said in a small and shy voice, Thank you. Then, Ihuan ran back. She was always a shy little girl. Chinamo looked at AI Mingming. She won't know anything. Thank you. AI Mingming's voice was slightly choked. President Qin, I'm sorry. She bent over and took a long time to straighten up. Then, she saw Ihuan. She mumbled an apology again. It was a little embarrassing, but she still said it. Ihuan was quite indifferent and didn't say anything. To her, AI Mingming was a stranger. But now that so many things had happened, it meant that this girl was closely related to them. AI Mingming was still biting her lips so hard that they were about to break. In the end, she still left. Ihuan looked at her back and said faintly, Chinamo, can you explain it now? Chinamo looked at her and then at Auntie Lan. Auntie Lan immediately said, Oh, it's time to eat. If you two have a meeting, you can have it later. It won't be good if Ihuan is hungry. Chinamo immediately said, Yeah, it would be bad if Ihuan got hungry. Ihuan glared at him and then went back to the villa. After dinner, Chinamo had nothing to hide. He asked Auntie Lan to take care of Ihuan while he went to the study. After a while, Ihuan came over and closed the door. Chinamo sat behind his desk and smoked. He stared at Ihuan for a long time before smiling faintly. Why didn't you ask? Didn't you suspect that I gave her the watch? As he said that, he took out a box from the drawer. This is for you. Ihuan walked over and opened the box. It was the same as she remembered, but she wasn't an idiot. She closed the box and smiled. Did you think that I would think that the one in AI Mingming's hand was an imitation just because you bought another one? Chinamo stood up and walked behind Ihuan. He pressed on her shoulders and leaned over. Look, she has another one. She probably has to sell it to survive. Are you still angry? Ihuan was furious. Chinamo, you're just sophistry. Chapter 4372. It's an excuse. But you like it too, don't you? He smiled and bit her earlobe. Are you still angry? Ihuan immediately broke free from him. Don't give me that. As she spoke, she walked to the sofa and sat down, still looking very angry. Chinamo smiled, stared at her for a while, and walked to her side. I'm going to explain now. Do you want to hear it? Up to you. Ihuan flipped through the magazine, but she quickly stopped what she was doing. Chinamo sighed softly. Ihuan has panda blood. I know. Ihuan's voice was gloomy. Then, Chinamo continued. You know how precious blood is. It'll be very dangerous in an emergency. So there's AI Mingming. Ihuan suddenly bit her lip. Chinamo said cruelly, There will be Li Mingming, Zhang Mingming, and Ihuan in the future. Do you think I'll draw blood from you? Ihuan glared at him. Chinamo smiled again. His smile was carefree. You must be thinking that since you also have panda blood, you'll be able to live well. What I did was unnecessary. This time, Ihuan didn't say anything. She just looked at him quietly. Chinamo exhaled. Ever since you lost your blood for the first time in middle school, your desk mate has always had panda blood. It's the same for you when you're studying abroad. Even your assistants and secretaries when you're a director all have panda blood. Huan was shocked. She looked at him quietly and didn't say anything for a long time. Qin Mo put his hand on her shoulder and pulled her into his arms. His voice was hoarse. Huan, now you know why I want to support AI Ming Ming. Why that watch appeared on her hand. There doesn't seem to be any cause and effect. Huan glanced at him. All men with self-control know their limits. Obviously, you don't. Qin Mo, after saying that, she wanted to leave. Anyway, she already knew what she wanted to know. But she only took one step before he pulled her back to the sofa. This time, she was sitting on his lap. Huan was a little annoyed. Let go of me, bastard. Qin Mo sat on the sofa, smartly dressed, his fingers gently caressing her face. I'm a bastard. Do you want to see what real jerk looks like? I already knew that. She knew what he wanted to do. Biting her lips, she struggled with all her might, but the more she struggled, the more unbearable it became. Qin Mo's body stiffened, and then he said in a hoarse voice, Huan, if I could, I'd rather be the one who got hurt that night. His eyes were fixed on hers as he spoke, and after a moment of silence, he released her. Then, he walked behind his desk, took out a cigarette, and started smoking. Huan was also sitting in his original position. Actually, he was already in a mess because of his flirting. This bastard just pulled away and left. What the hell was he doing? After smoking half a cigarette, Qin Mo looked up and said in a slightly reserved manner, If you don't want to, I won't do it anymore. After saying that, he continued smoking. He didn't say anything else. He didn't say anything about breaking up with her, and he didn't say anything about where Huan belonged. But Huan could smell the Cold War from his attitude. Especially in the afternoon. When he left the villa, he didn't take Huan with him. He only asked Huan to send Huan to kindergarten during the day. Huan agreed absent-mindedly and watched his car leave. Auntie Lan followed her gaze and sighed faintly. How pretentious. Otherwise, the night would be so beautiful. Chapter 43-73. Huan was speechless. She turned back to look at Auntie Lan, unable to say anything for a long time. Auntie Lan smiled. Do you miss him now? The old lady went back to wash up. She did not understand the world of youngsters. Huan stood there for a while, looking outside. Then, Huan tugged at her hand. Mummy, did Daddy quarrel with you? Huan squatted down. No, Daddy has a job. Huan's expression was a little strange. But Daddy said that he likes Mummy more. Huan cursed inwardly. Of all the things that Qin Mo could have taught, he had to teach Huan this. She brought Huan back. Dinner was for the three women to eat together. At night, Huan gave Huan a bath. After a few days, she was already very familiar with it. At night, she slept with Huan. She told a fairy tale to Huan. Huan's eyes were about to close as she listened. After a while, she said in a very soft and sleepy voice, Mummy, I miss Daddy. Huan was stunned. Then, she kissed her forehead. Call Daddy tomorrow morning. But I miss him now. Huan grew up like a princess. Qin Mo was always at her beck and call. Huan thought about it and agreed. She took out her phone and dialed Qin Mo's number. The call went through. It sounded like he was in a bar. Huan frowned. She heard Qin Mo's cold voice. What's the matter? Huan bit her lip. Huan wants to talk to you. As she spoke, she passed the phone to Huan. Huan had no idea about the turbulence of the adult world. She spoke to Qin Mo in a sweet voice, and after a few minutes, she yawned, tilted her head, and fell asleep. Huan took the phone from her hand. She looked at it again. The call had been hung up. She sighed speechlessly. She felt that Qin Mo was a little childish. However, she knew in her heart that because of the panda blood around her, she always had some different feelings towards him, and this man took the opportunity to be arrogant. Huan tossed her phone aside and lay flat on the bed. On the other side of B City, Qin Mo and Lan Yu were sitting face to face in a bar. It was already 10 o'clock at night. Lan Yu raised his hand to look at his watch. It's 10 o'clock. Are you really not going back to Huan's place? As he spoke, he looked like he was about to get up. Qin Mo reached out to stop him. You've only been sitting here for a while, and you're leaving. Have you become a eunuch under Qinchin's control? Lan Yu chuckled. I'm sure that in bed, I'm a man, and Chun is a woman. China Mo gave him a mocking look. How can I not know your tricks? Can you give me some face? Wan Yu glanced at him. Then he picked up his glass and drank his wine. He said slowly, "Oh yes, Huan is single now. She's young and rich. I've seen her recently, and she's much prettier." Shan said that men like this type. Don't you worry about leaving her alone at home? Chin Mo glared at Lan Yu. Don't give me that. Huan doesn't like anyone else. What about Rong Yu? Speaking of this, Lan Yu smiled. His son used to be called Rong Yu, but because Chin Mo cared, he changed it to Lan Yu. Of course, he felt much better. Chin Mo's expression was even worse. Looking at his brother-in-law's handsome face, he really wanted to punch it and smash the smugness on his face. Chapter 43-74. However, the arrogant President Qin wouldn't do that. He just picked up his coat and walked out. Lan Yu was still sitting where he was. He finished half a glass of wine in his hand and walked out of the bar. Qin Mo was already in the car. Lan Yu was relieved when he saw that the driver was driving. He turned around and got into the car. Qin Mo returned to his old apartment. He tossed and turned on the bed, but couldn't fall asleep. He hated a certain little guy in his heart, but he couldn't do anything to her. The next morning, in the villa, Huan woke up. The first thing she did was to check if there was a call. There was no call. She stared blankly for a while and realized that he was really angry. It was her rejection. Huan dragged Huan up, took care of the little girl's clothes and food, and sent her to school. After that, she also went to the studio. She hadn't been there for a few days and was busy with some things. Especially Twin had been edited, and she had to watch it several times. After being busy for a long time in the studio, when she was hungry, she received a call from Qin Mo. His tone was not very good. Huan, you left Huan at the kindergarten and don't need to pick her up? Huan was stunned for a moment. It was already 5 in the afternoon. She had indeed missed the time to pick her up. I'll go right away. She packed her things and went downstairs to drive to the school. At the school gate, Qin Mo's Mulsan was parked there. Qin Mo was bringing Huan out from the school, and the person beside him wasn't Secretary He, but a very beautiful female star. She was a second-tier star, had a good figure, and was also young. Huan knew that when Qin Mo dealt with his personal affairs, he never had a woman by his side, and the one beside him might be the new love he had chosen. She felt a little uncomfortable in her heart, but her face was indifferent. I won't come if you say you're coming. Qin Mo looked at her. You didn't give birth to the child? His attitude was really bad, and Huan had no choice. Just as she was about to say something, she felt dizzy and her body swayed. Only then did she remember that she had not eaten today. It had been a day. Qin Mo also noticed that she didn't look well and could guess why. He picked up little Huan and threw her into the back seat of his car. Then he looked at Huan and said, "Get in the car." Huan also knew that she couldn't drive now, so she thought that Qin Mo would let the little star drive her car. However, Qin Mo didn't. He even opened the front passenger door for the beautiful girl and let her sit beside him. Although Huan knew that he was angry at her, she still felt very uncomfortable. Her eyes were a little hot, and she turned her head to the side. Qin Mo got into the car, fastened his seatbelt, and whispered something to the girl beside him before driving off. Huan heard him asking about the restaurant. Since when did he have to ask others for food? With Huan's personality, she would immediately turn around and leave, but with Huan around, she couldn't do anything and could only endure it. The car drove steadily, and surprisingly, it stopped in less than 5 minutes. The girl got out of the car first, and Qin Mo drove for another 2 minutes before stopping in the parking lot of a restaurant. He unbuckled his seatbelt. Vegetarian restaurant, a new one in B City. Isn't it quite popular recently? Huan pursed her lips. I thought you would eat with the 4 of us. It's not convenient, he said mysteriously, and Huan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Chapter 43-75. Huan just looked at him and did not say anything. Qin Mo carried Huan and walked in front while Huan followed behind him. When they arrived at the restaurant, it was quiet and there weren't many people. Qin Mo found a seat by the window and Yi-Huan sat beside him. Qin and Mo called the waiter over and ordered 2 snacks for Yi-Huan and Yi-Huan to fill their stomachs. Then, he ordered his own food. Yi-Huan did not care. He knew her taste, so she ate the snacks to ease her hunger. Qin and Mo seemed to be very busy. He had been using his phone to deal with things. Later on, he ate casually. Yi-Huan, on the other hand, felt that the dishes here were pretty good. After eating until her stomach was full, she stretched and then met Qin Mo's gaze. "I have something to do later. The chauffeur will send you back at the entrance of the restaurant," Qin and Mo said briefly. Yi-Huan couldn't say whether she was disappointed or not. She was already in a cold war with him, or perhaps they were in the midst of breaking up. Yi-Huan, on the other hand, was disappointed. She looked at Qin and Mo and said in a crisp voice, "Daddy, aren't you coming home today?" The petite person hugged his neck softly. Qin and Mo had always doted on her. Usually, he would let go of any important matters. However, at this moment, he still said that he had something to deal with and would go over later. Yi-Huan pursed her lips when she heard that he was going. Qin and Mo handed Yi-Huan to her and said calmly, "I have a party to attend. You and Yi-Huan can sleep first." Yi-Huan could not refuse in front of the child, so she nodded and agreed. Qin and Mo sent them to the door. The chauffeur, Mr. Zhang, was already there. He opened the door for Yi-Huan and said goodbye to Qin and Mo before driving away. In the car, Yi-Huan opened her big round eyes. "Mommy, who is the pretty girl in Daddy's car today?" Yi-Huan was a little distracted. "She's a colleague from the company. Are all the girls in Dad's company so beautiful? If that's the case, won't it be dangerous?" Yi-Huan must have watched too much TV and knew a lot. Yi-Huan smiled. "Celebrities are all very pretty." Yi-Huan said sweetly, "Mommy is prettier than them." "Little liar." Yi-Huan kissed her. "Say that to your mother every day from now on." Yi-Huan's expression was indescribable. Yi-Huan brought Yi-Huan back to the villa. It was getting late, and Annie Lan had already finished her dinner. Seeing Yi-Huan carrying Yi-Huan back, she immediately caught up with him. "Is the little girl asleep?" Yi-Huan nodded. "I fell asleep in the car." Annie Lan wanted to ask something, but she didn't. In the end, she just wanted to help Yi-Huan carry Yi-Huan. "Let me carry him, Annie Lan." Yi-Huan's voice was soft. "I can carry him. You go to sleep first." She knew that Annie Lan was old and went to bed early, so Yi-Huan had been coaxing Yi-Huan by herself. Although Yi-Huan was only a few years old, her body was quite chubby. Yi-Huan was also sweating all over as she carried her upstairs. However, the little girl woke up as soon as she reached the small bed and then subconsciously wanted to hug Yi-Huan to sleep. Yi-Huan stayed with her for about half an hour before the little girl fell asleep. Only then did she get away and gently wipe Yi-Huan's little hands and feet with a hot towel. When she was wiping them, there was an indescribable feeling in her heart. It was warm. After doing all this, Yi-Huan straightened up, stretched, and bent down to kiss little Yi-Huan. Only then did she go back to her bedroom to take a shower, change into pajamas, and lie in bed. Chapter 4376. Actually, there were some jobs that she could have done, but she was too lazy to do anything. She sat on the bed in a daze for a while, before taking out her phone to check the time. It was already past 10. In the end, she used her laptop to watch a movie and fell asleep halfway through. Qin and Mo came back after 12 o'clock. His classic black and white suit made him look even more handsome. He pushed the door open and saw Yi-Huan leaning against the headboard. She was probably asleep, and the laptop beside her was glowing blue. He looked at it quietly and kept it for her. However, he also saw the title of the movie. It was an animation. With that, Yi-Huan woke up. She glanced at him, probably still in a daze. She said, "You're back," and fell asleep. Qin and Mo looked at her silently. She was probably alone at home. She was actually wearing spaghetti straps in her silk pajamas. Moreover, because she was thin, she looked very sexy. Especially the back of her neck, it was very beautiful. Every time Qin and Mo hugged her, he would hug her from behind and kiss that spot. Because of that thought, his Adam's apple rolled a few times before he went to the changing room to take his bathrobe to the bathroom. He didn't have any clothes here and was just making do. After all, they weren't husband and wife, and they were in a cold war. He didn't know what Ihuan was thinking or how she viewed their relationship, but now he felt that it was pretty good. When Qin and Mo took a shower, Ihuan woke up. She pulled the blanket, not knowing if Qin and Mo would, however. As soon as she opened her eyes, she smelled a perfume. It was a very sweet smell. It should be used by young girls. And the one in the car today was wearing it. She saw Qin Mo's jacket. It was a different one. She took it over and sniffed it. It was his jacket. At that moment, Qin and Mo came out of the bathroom. He looked at her quietly and asked calmly, "What's wrong?" He didn't say it, but there was a hint of understanding in his eyes. Ihuan naturally wouldn't admit that she was smelling his jacket. She put down and lay down. "I'm going to sleep." He nodded and took his clothes. "I'll sleep in the guest room." Ihuan was surprised. She thought that he would sleep with her when he came back. After being startled for a moment, she didn't say anything. She only said a faint good night. Qin and Mo stared at her for a while. "Good night." After saying that, he took his phone and left. Tears welled up in Ihuan's eyes. Whether it was true or not, he was doing it again. When they were in a Cold War, it wasn't like he didn't have women before. She knew that, but she convinced herself that it was all in the past. Now that they were divorced, it was normal for him to find another woman if he couldn't stand the loneliness. He didn't have to deliberately let her know under her nose. Ihuan shouldn't have cared, but her eyes still turned red. She covered the quilt with her hand and wiped her reddened eyes. He still felt a little uncomfortable. Her eyes were a little swollen after the night, and she couldn't hide it even with the foundation. Because she had to send Ihuan to school, she had to get up early to tidy herself up. On the other hand, Ihuan was taken care of by Qin and Mo. Chapter 4377. Ihuan didn't say anything. She thought that he had probably made up his mind. She knew about the girl's background. Her family background was quite good, and she had entered the entertainment industry for fun. She was young and pretty, and her name seemed to be Sui Lu. Qin and Mo might be in a serious relationship. He had attended a cocktail party with a girl last night. She had seen it on the entertainment news. They looked very compatible when they stood together. Ihuan looked down and bit her sandwich. Qin and Mo stared at her for a while and said softly, "Did you cry?" "No." She pursed her lips. Qin Mo's fingers touched her face, and then he said indifferently, "It's not because of me, is it?" She looked up at him with bloodshot eyes. After a while, she smiled and said, "If it's inconvenient for you to have a girlfriend, then you don't have to come. I could take care of Ihuan." Ihuan had gone upstairs to get her school bag, so she couldn't hear her parents' discussion. Qin and Mo looked at Ihuan quietly. He had actually just eaten a little and had lost his appetite. He put down the knife and fork in his hand, wiped his lips with a napkin, and leaned back. "Ihuan, do you know that you've been acting like you're about to leave in this marriage?" Ihuan sneered. "We're not married anymore, Qin and Mo. You're the one who has a girlfriend and wants to go on a blind date now. Can you stop picking on me and admit that it's hard for you to find a new partner?" He looked at her for a moment and sneered. "It seems like you know me very well." "Same here." Ihuan's voice became colder. "There's no meaning in this, so I don't have to come over, and Ihuan doesn't need me anymore, right?" He wasn't angry. Chapter 475. Chapter 475. Chapter 4378. After saying that, Ihuan was ready to go upstairs to pick up Ihuan. But Ihuan stood at the stairs in a daze. She heard the whole quarrel between her parents. The little girl's face tightened. Ihuan was stunned for a moment and wanted to explain, but Ihuan whispered, "Daddy, I want to be with Mommy." Qin Mo's throat tightened. Ihuan said again, "Daddy is loved by many people, but Mommy is alone." Ihuan couldn't believe that Ihuan would choose her because she was not very good at taking care of Ihuan. She couldn't cook, she would catch a cold when she helped Ihuan take a bath, and she would forget to pick her up from school. But Ihuan was still willing to be with her. Ihuan picked up Ihuan without saying anything. She just put her face against hers and kissed her again. "Mommy will take you to school." Ihuan was held and looked at Qin and Mo with a baby's eyes. It was a very different feeling. As a father, he was also a dog in his heart. The little princess whom he had doted on for so many years suddenly did not recognize him. But he was also very good-tempered. He took Yi-Huan's little school bag and helped to put in the car. When Yi-Huan sat on the children's chair, he bent down and kissed her little face. Daddy will not remarry. After saying that, he straightened up and looked at Yi-Huan, not knowing whether intentionally or not. Yi-Huan got in the car and pretended not to see it. She reminded him, "Close the door." Qin Mo closed the door and walked to her side. He wanted to say something about the perfume last night, but Yi-Huan had already driven the car away. She left him with a lot of car smoke. Qin Mo stood there and lit a cigarette. Anilon came over and looked at his depressed face. She sighed and said, "You only have her in your heart. Why do you have to pretend that you don't care?" Qin Mo looked at Anilon and said, "Yi-Huan is too stubborn." Anilan's eyes were strange. "If you can't stand it, find a docile one and bring her home. Maybe you will treasure her very much." After saying that, Anilon went back to the villa, and Qin Mo found that he was teased by Anilon. He stamped out the cigarette in his hand and let out a long breath. Little Sue was used to annoy Yi-Huan, and Yi-Huan was indeed annoyed. However, she sadly realized that he was not indispensable to her. She was prepared to leave at any time. So, Qin Mo was even more depressed. On the other side, Yi-Huan was driving. Little Yi-Huan did not say a word in the back. Yi-Huan was afraid that little Yi-Huan would be traumatized. After all, she and Qin Mo had argued quite fiercely just now. Yi-Huan cleared her throat. "Yi-Huan, let's stay at Mom's apartment tonight, okay?" The apartment was half an hour shorter than the villa to send her to school. Yi-Huan could also sleep a little longer. She was a child, and it was the time for her to grow. To her surprise, Yi-Huan agreed without hesitation. What Yi-Huan didn't know was that Yi-Huan was willing to be with her because she was sure that her father was a bootlicker and couldn't bear to leave her mother. She used to follow her father, but now she wanted to look after her mother. Her mother was so beautiful. She would run away if she didn't look after her. As little Yi-Huan thought about it, her expression became even more determined. When Yi-Huan sent Yi-Huan to school, Yi-Huan's teacher happened to be on duty. She had never seen Yi-Huan before, but she often saw Qin Mo send his children to school. The teacher naturally admired President Qin's appearance and background. She also heard that President Qin's wife was abroad all year round and didn't come home, so they didn't have a good relationship. Chapter 4379. Hence, it was normal for a young female teacher to have some thoughts. She would usually bring some snacks for Yi-Huan to win Qin Mo's favor, but Qin Mo never noticed it. He just took it as the teacher's good intentions. Today, Yi-Huan was sending Yi-Huan off. It was the teacher's first time seeing Yi-Huan. She didn't know Yi-Huan and didn't expect that Yi-Huan was Yi-Huan's mother because Yi-Huan was very young. Yi-Huan jumped down from Yi-Huan's hand and ran over. "Hello, Ms. Dai." The teacher with the surname Dai smiled. "Yi-Huan, go on in. Today's dress is really pretty." Qin Yi-Huan skipped a few times and waved at Yi-Huan. "Goodbye, Mummy." Ms. Dai's face froze. She looked at Yi-Huan and asked, "Are you Yi-Huan's mother?" She almost lost her composure when she asked. Yi-Huan already knew that Qin Mo was a flirt, so she didn't mind. She just smiled faintly. "Yes, I am Yi-Huan's mother." Ms. Dai's gaze was a little complicated. She didn't expect Yi-Huan to be so young. She looked like a high school girl, especially with her black hair that reached her shoulders. She was also very skinny. She didn't look like a woman who had given birth to a child. Yi-Huan understood after she looked at her. She just smiled and opened the car door. Ms. Dai realized that it was a car that cost tens of millions. Her gaze became even more lustful. Yi-Huan didn't care too much. If she cared about this, she wouldn't have to work and watch over Qin Mo all day. Moreover, they had broken up, so they didn't have to have a Cold War anymore. She drove to her own studio and was surprised to see Rongyu there. Yi-Huan pushed the door open and entered. "Why are you here?" Rongyu smiled. "I talked to Kong Qiao about something, so I came over to take a look." Yi-Huan gestured for him to sit on the sofa. She went over to Rongyu after dealing with some matters. They sat face to face. They were old friends, so they casually chatted for a while. Most of it was about scripts. About 15 minutes later, Rongyu took his leave. Before he left, he turned to look at Yi-Huan and said in a low voice, "Actually, you like Qin Mo very much." Why don't you give each other a chance? He-Hwan smiled. I knew you were here for this. Rongyu, you are still very kind. Rongyu stood there and smiled. It's just a small thought. He-Hwan reached out and placed her hand on his arm. You're fine too. He grunted softly and walked away. It was still a white shirt and black trousers. His back view was very nice. He-Hwan watched him leave. After she lowered her eyes, there was a hint of gentleness in them. She did not regret liking Rongyu. She did like him, whether it was because he looked like Chin Mo or not. In short, it was a beautiful youth. Unlike a certain man who was still so awkward at his age, He-Hwan started to deal with her own matters again. Twin would be released at the end of the year, and it was in the spring festival slot. Because of her and Kong Xiao, the cinema would still give them some face. It wouldn't be a problem to get them to 30% of the screenings. Now that the finished film was out and was sent to the Berlin Film Festival for competition, He-Hwan was the symbol of winning an award. She also had a feeling that Kong Xiao would reach the peak this time. Her work later was mainly publicity. She was a little busy, and sometimes she had to go on business trips. When the film was released, there would be road shows. It'd be the spring festival then, so she could leave He-Hwan with Chin and Mo. Chapter 4380. Rongyu walked out of He-Hwan's studio and was about to get into his car when he heard a timid voice. Rongyu. Rongyu looked up and saw AI Mengmeng. Not long ago, they had been on a show together. She had shown him the watch in her hand, not caring about his feelings at all. Of course, other than that night, they had no feelings for each other. AI Mengmeng walked up to him and said in a low voice, Rongyu, I want to talk to you. Rongyu placed his hand on the car door. He was driving a white BMW, which matched his temperament very well. AI Mengmeng used to be arrogant because she had seen too many successful men in the Vanity Fair. She had looked down on Rongyu and got together with him to discuss He-Hwan. But now, she realized that she was not worthy of this man. He had such a clean temperament. Even though he had been through so much trauma, he was still standing there. After AI Mengmeng said that, Rongyu said calmly, Get in. He got in first, and AI Mengmeng only dared to get in. She felt a little uneasy sitting next to him. Rongyu brought her to his apartment. It was a 100 square meter apartment. It was not luxurious, but it had a scholarly feel to it. It was quiet and beautiful. AI Mengmeng was a little uncomfortable. She pursed her lips and did not say anything for a long time. Rongyu poured her a glass of fruit juice and sat opposite her. He looked at her quietly and said in a low voice, What's the matter? AI Mengmeng looked down and said after a long time, We didn't have sex that night. After saying that, she held her breath and waited for him to speak. Rongyu did not say anything. After a long time, AI Mengmeng looked up and her eyes were watery. She gathered her courage and said, Rongyu, I said that we didn't have sex, so I've always known, Rongyu said calmly. AI Mengmeng was stunned. She stared at him in disbelief. Rongyu was still very calm. I actually wanted to find a girlfriend. Actually, he quite liked her appearance. When she said that they had sex, he knew that they hadn't, but he still admitted it. No one expected that Rongyu did not break up with her. It was AI Mengmeng who did. She did not have the face to be with him. Even though he was a good person, she was too down and out. AI Mengmeng apologized softly and slowly stood up, ready to leave. Wait a minute. Rongyu stopped her. AI Mengmeng turned her head, her lips trembling slightly. She knew what she had missed, but she couldn't say it out loud. It was too shameful. Rongyu returned to his bedroom with an envelope in his hand. He gently placed it on her palm. There's 2 million in the card. The password is your birthday. Take good care of yourself in the future. AI Mengmeng's lips trembled even more. She really wanted to cry, but she was afraid that she would cry out, afraid that she wouldn't be able to bear to leave. She didn't deserve such a good man. AI Mengmeng lowered her eyes and whispered after a long time, I can't take it. Rongyu pressed on her hand. Take it. You'll need to spend a lot of money in the future. AI Mengmeng bit her lip. Rongyu. He put his hand on her shoulder and patted it gently. I'll send you back. Just as he was about to leave, AI Mengmeng hugged him. She hugged his waist with her slender arms and buried her face in his shoulder. She knew she was not worthy, but she wanted to hug him now. Chapter 4381. At this moment, she was a little sad. If she was good enough, would she be able to have such a man? She leaned on his shoulder and hugged his waist nervously. Her voice was also very low. I'm bad. I've done bad things and I'm vain, but I've never sold myself. Rongyu, I'm still clean. With that, she raised her head and kissed him. Rongyu had never done this before. He froze for a moment and lowered his eyes to look at her. Ai Meng was a little shy. She was afraid that he would reject her, so she opened her eyes and looked at him. There was innocence in her eyes, just like when she first moved from her hometown to be city. It was very pure. Rongyu was passively kissed. After a long time, his hand finally held her shoulder. When Rongyu woke up, it was already afternoon. He sat up on the bed and scratched his head. The seat beside him was already empty. He looked a little dazed. Finally, he picked up 2 long strands of hair on the pillow. It was left by Ai Meng. Rongyu put it under the light for a long time and looked at it. Then, he saw that the card he gave her was lying quietly on the bedside table. Rongyu took the phone and called her cell phone, but it was switched off. He called a few more times, but it was switched off every time. At night, it was still switched off. After a few days, he was sure that she had given up on this number so that he wouldn't be able to find her. Later on, Rongyu never had a girlfriend. He remembered that morning with Ai Meng. It was her first time all the way until the afternoon. He also didn't know if he was waiting for her when he was single all the time. He tried to look for her. He went to the places she lived and went to the places she used to go. Sometimes, he would even see a similar figure on the streets, but it was never her. Ai Meng seemed to have disappeared from this world. Rongyu learned to drink and smoke. It wasn't until he was admitted to the hospital that he decided to quit. Yihuan brought Yihuan to visit him. Looking at him, she asked, Rongyu? Rongyu looked at her and smiled faintly. I'm fine. He waved at Yihuan. Little girl. Yihuan also liked him a lot because Uncle Rongyu was very handsome. It was probably because of his clean temperament that he looked younger than a mature man like Qin and Mo. In addition, he was indeed a few years younger. This was the pain in President Qin's heart. Yihuan leaned on Rongyu, a smile on her chubby little face. I want to marry Uncle Rongyu in the future. Yihuan covered her eyes, unable to look at him. Rongyu, on the other hand, smiled faintly and said, maybe it won't happen. Uncle has a girl he likes. Is Yihuan cute? Yihuan blinked her sparkling eyes and asked in a childish voice. Rongyu smiled warmly as he reached out to stroke the little fellow's head. Yihuan will be prettier than her when she grows up. Yihuan Qin thought. Qin. Rong Huan. Rong. Huan Qin. To Qin. To say. Rong. She wasn't so bad when she was young. Yihuan said, no, I heard from Granny Lon that my name is Yihuan. It means that Qin Mo's sweetheart is Yihuan. So, I'm more like my mother. This explanation was convincing. Yihuan smiled helplessly. Rongyu pinched the little girl's nose. Your Granny Lon is right. He smiled at Yihuan again, and Yihuan felt rather uncomfortable. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.